review. And now for our review, Iniuri, Sensorineural Hearing Loss, Volume 1. Iniuri is based in Plymouth, England, and on what seems to be their first project, the artist already seems to have a pretty strong understanding of how to add digital harshness to a song in an interesting way. This is another short album. It's only about 18 minutes, but given that there is a Volume 1 in the title, I assume it's like a Death Grip situation, where the second half will be released at a later point. So let's get into how it sounds. The first track, titled I Watch Hentai for the Plot, has a cool progression to it, as it bounces a very dissonant synth lead back and forth across a syncopated and very crushed up drum pattern. And although the song does end up dragging a little at points during its 8-minute runtime, it does build up to very strong points. The song listen as a whole is made worth it by these moments once I know they're actually coming. The song also changes pace at around the halfway mark as it switches up the synth and drum pattern somewhat, which helps it to justify its runtime. The second song, I'm in Love with My Pillowcase, offers a break from the dissonance as it brings in a lot of melodic string samples into play, as well as that clip of that Japanese man going, "Yo!" It's a nice track and definitely not a bad track by any means, but it does feel a little bit underdeveloped in comparison with the rest of the album. I think this track was cooked a little longer, had a little more sauce than we're working with a real good song here, but as it stands, it could use a little more development. The third song, called the
Konnichiwa Zetsuba Sensei,
throws listeners immediately back into the noise as the song opens with a very pummeling and digitally affected beat that ultimately never lets up. It's a pretty strong track, and the production in here is definitely creative in its use of distortion, but again, ultimately one that would benefit from a stronger song structure. I feel like if this sound was taken and applied to either a more rigid structure or just a more fluid one, I think either way, going in either direction would make the song a lot better. But still, not a bad song, just one that needs a little bit more of a structure to it. The fourth song, titled Tibetan Basket Weaving, brings back another break from the dissonance, much like the second song. It ends up giving the album a nice balance between these two different styles. It's close in style again to the second track, but ultimately is a lot more down-tempo and ambient than the other. It feels a lot more developed than the former track. This one ends up being a lot better. The ending is a little abrupt. I feel like if the ending was a little more developed, the song will be a lot better. But still, again, interesting production work. It doesn't really take that much away from the song. The most interesting part of the album, though, is how Iniuri takes advantage of the pitfalls of a digital workstation and ends up using this flaws to their advantage. The mix of the project is riddled with these artifacts and glitches that can only be found in the low-quality audio files. And rather than letting the allure of taking an ordinary track and making it lo-fi for the sake of it, Iniuri seems to understand exactly which elements of the song would benefit from this distortion. So a lot of the elements of the song, they feel distorted in a way that suits exactly what kind of instrument it is, rather than just kind of throwing it on top of the whole track and just exporting it like that. Ultimately, this is an interesting project, and again, even though this is the first release on the page, Iniuri seems to already have a strong grasp of what they're going for. And given the title of this project, again, I assume a part 2 is coming, and if the part 2 of this album manages to utilize the same style but manages to experiment more with the song structure, I'm sure it'll be really good. I would recommend this album to anyone looking to catch on to this new wave of up-and-coming crushed music style, or a low bit, or bit-fi, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, this trend I'm noticing a lot where artists essentially drop the bitrate of a song on purpose. And that's about it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, it's fucking Meme Lord over here with his meme-ass titles. Fucking memes. You got some funny memes over here, sir? Funny I'm in love with my pillowcase memes, sir?